you were the chairperson of Sony from 2006 to 2015 before you ventured out and created a Pascal Pictures as a producer. Now, I know some studio heads will leave and they leave with a producing deal or something like that and never heard of again.
Right.
Because it's tough.
Yeah,
it ain't easy to make this.
It's really different. Being a producer is understanding, how to do a Jedi mind trick. And being the head of the studio is about everybody doing what you say because you have a loaded gun under the table.
That's the big difference.
Hitting a ball with a racket is a great way to avoid having a job.
Well, that's also your problem. Because you think that tennis is about expressing yourself, doing your thing. That's why you still have that serve.
It works.
Yeah, but you're not a tennis player. So you don't know what tennis is.
What is it?
It's a relationship.
Is that what you and Anna Miller had today?
It is, actually. For about 15 seconds there, we were actually playing tennis. And we understood each other completely. So did everyone watching. It was like we were in love. Or like we didn't exist. We went somewhere really beautiful together.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today she has had a stellar career on all sides of the business, from running major studios to becoming a major producer. And her current film that's getting lots of buzz in all the award circles, I believe it's even nominated already in the Gotham Awards and other things, is Challengers, Luca Guadagnino's brilliant, sexy movie set in the tennis world. This is Amy Pascal. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to Behind the Lens, and let's talk about Challengers too, because that came out earlier in the year, and actually I think it was supposed to have come out originally last year, but the strike sort of KO'd that, right?
Yeah, the strike did. I mean, this movie is about the people that are in it and Luca, and without them being able to talk about the movie, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, so you moved it into this year.
Yeah.
In fact, it was going to open the Venice Film Festival.
It will, and that would have been fun.
Yeah, but it got out there, did very well, and there's a lot to talk about. Of course, it stars Zendaya and Mike Faist and Josh O'Connor.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the three of them are the center of this story. What was it that appealed? Now, you're a producer, you get a hold of a script. You are known actually for bringing a lot of novels to the screen, books. And things like this. This was an original
This was an original screenplay written by Justin Kuritzkis. Sorry, I have a little bit of a lisp. That his agent gave us, and to Rachel and myself, and we read the script and we just flipped for it, and we're like, we have to make this movie. And for a couple of reasons. One, it was a really modern story. It was a story about modern love and the way that people love each other these days, without judgment, without any kind of specificity about who you're supposed to love.
Right.
And that really appealed to me.
Yeah.
The other thing that really appealed to me is that it's a story about three people hoping something is never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And then it happens, and they're okay.
Yeah.
So that it's about surviving the thing that you think you can't survive. And that was an important thing to me too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And taking an original idea like this, as having run a studio, and you did it several times, you brought these, these original movies, not based on any IP and all the terms they use now.
Right.
That is the old-fashioned way of making movies and trusting the audience.
And wouldn't it be good if that came back?
I am rooting for it.
Because there was a day when Terminator and Star Wars and all those things were original ideas.
Yeah, and so it's rarer and rarer, certainly in the major studio system here.
Yeah.
To get those through.
Yeah.
And somehow you've worked your magic here. And
well, I had some help. from having a fantastic director and fantastic actors who
Yeah.
were Rachel and my partners
Yeah.
in the movie.
So what's the challenge of making a movie like Challengers, just logistically, keeping it within a budget that,
Because it has to be made for a number,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's not Spider-Man.
Right.
Because I wanted it to be really pop movie, and I wanted it to appeal to people who are hard to get to go
Yeah.
to the movies, which are people that are under 100. And I wanted it to be something that was really bold
Yeah.
and something that you hadn't seen before. And that was, that's not always easy.
Right, yeah. And this,
And the challenge was the ending, because
yeah.
because everyone who read the script said, "Well, who won?"
right,
And we said, "Well, no one,"
yeah.
and everyone.
I was just going to say, you have to add "and everyone,"
Yeah.
because this movie ends. It's an incredible sequence in terms of editing and music and all those elements.
Luca did such an astonishingly good job on that.
It's so great. You look for directors like that, international directors who know movies
Yeah.
and he can do almost anything.
He can literally do anything. I mean, he is a consummate filmmaker, and he is a European filmmaker with ambition to make big American movies. And I think that's always been something that was really important to him.
Yeah.
Because that's what he loves. I think his hero is Steven Spielberg.
Yes. And if you go further, when I've talked to him, Billy Wilder,
Yeah, Billy
people like
Wilder,
that,
yeah.
who were also,
In addition to Bertolucci.
yeah, but also not from this country or anything like that. They came here in the earlier days,
Yeah.
and they found a way, and they,
Yeah, and I think he wanted to take the way that Howard Hawks and Preston Sturges and Billy Wilder,
yeah,
worked with the actors
Yeah.
and to have them say their dialogue really quickly and
Yeah.
be it the way that people actually talk and not have big pauses in between.
sort of like a tennis match.
Sort of like a tennis match. Everything was sort of like a tennis
That
match.
was that was intentional. So Zendaya, you worked with before in Spider-Man.
Yes.
I heard you didn't even know who she was when she came
Oh
into
my
audition.
God, it's so embarrassing. So Kevin Feige and I were so stupid. So this incredibly talented girl comes in just for an audition wearing no makeup and I think sweatpants or whatever. And she comes in and she auditions for MJ. And Kevin and I are like, oh my God, she's amazing. Who is she? Okay, that was so stupid.
And it was Zendaya.
And it was her, yeah.
Wow, and the rest is history.
And the rest is
But you knew when she came in, not knowing who she is, that she was right for the movie?
I knew she was an astonishing person, an astonishing star, and a jaw-dropping talent, and right for the movie.
Yeah, and she's so good in Challengers.
She is, and it's a really brave part. The thing about the movie is that all three of the actors, and probably her the most, could have been really unlikable, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
They do things that people aren't supposed to do. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to sleep with anyone else when you're married.
Right.
You're supposed to be nice to everybody.
Yeah.
And
She's a little manipulator.
she is, but
Yeah.
as she said to me when she first read the script, she said, this is what it's like to be a woman in a man's world.
Wow.
And that's what I want to do with the character.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that sort of sums it up.
Yeah.
She takes on all those attributes. I mean,
Absolutely.
some of these scenes are just classic. The scene, they're sitting on the edge of the bed.
Isn't
and
that incredible?
It's
that
an
scene?
incredible scene if you really look at it with the level of acting, direction, writing, everything that went into that.
And the music.
And the music, yeah.
I know. The thing about Luca is he surrounds himself with this crew that understand exactly what it is he wants.
Right.
And the whole thing is a cohesive story.
But as a producer, you've been extremely successful. I mean, these are big titles from several Oscar nominations
Yep.
for Best Picture, The Post, Little Women. You did the Ghostbusters reboot, then Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man, the animated Spider-Man, another Oscar nomination
Yeah.
for the second one. First one won.
Yep.
Unbelievable track record here.
Well, the secret to
What
being
is
a
the
producer is work with really talented directors
Yeah,
and work with people who are really smart and love what they do, but mostly are really talented.
Yeah.
That's what makes you make great movies.
It's like I remember on the Spider-Man Homecoming
Mm-hmm.
talking to the director that nobody had really heard of unless they saw
No.
Cop Car.
Yeah, but you know, Cop Car told you everything.
That told me everything. I had that in my top 10 for the
Yeah.
year.
I loved that movie,
It
and
was
when
great.
I saw it, and I saw what John did with those kids who were driving the car down the freeway,
Right.
then I knew he could be the director for
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
It takes something like that.
Yeah.
You know, you just
You just know.
know it.
You just know. You don't know you're going to know, but you do.
Yeah, that movie Cop Car blew me away. I like who did this movie?
He is such a talent, and it was so great making those 3 movies with him.
Yeah, and because those Spider-Mans work on 2 levels. One is spectacle and, you know, it's exciting and everything, but they really have heart and humanity.
Well, you know, I've been working with Peter Parker now for most of my
A
adult
long
life.
time when you
Yes.
were head of the studio,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now
because I was one of the people who brought the rights to the studio.
yeah,
Um,
that was
so-
unusual, wasn't it? Because Marvel was
Yeah, Marvel
separated.
didn't really exist. It certainly didn't exist as a movie company in those
Right.
days. Lucky for me then. Yeah, that was like in like 2000. So
Yeah.
now it's been almost 25 years.
Wow, and you're doing the next one and the next
The
animated.
next one and the next one and the
This
next
is
one.
the
Yeah, we
gift that
are.
keeps on giving.
Yeah, we're starting shooting the next Spider-Man movie with Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yeah, and he's a terrific director. I've
He's
seen
a
his stuff.
wonderful director.
Yeah.
I love No Mercy. I love Short Term 12.
Oh.
I love Shang-Chi. I think he did a wonderful job.
Short Term 12 is another one of those movies, like Cop Car. You discover that not just as a filmmaker here, but the cast,
Right, the cast
was
was amazing.
amazing and all becoming stars in their own right,
Yeah.
you know?
That's a good director who can spot that.
Who can, yeah, casting, whenever I talk to directors, they say casting is 90%. Do you
Oh my
agree?
God. Oh, I do, because
Mm-hmm.
movie stars are the reason that we go to movies.
Yeah.
I mean-
Still?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because an actor and a part are the thing that makes something come to life. That's the
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah. And Tom Holland is returning.
Yes, he is.
And so when I saw No Way Home, when I saw the last one, I said, this is the perfect way to end the whole thing. Now, that's why I'm not a producer. Because,
Well, we have to
was-
deal with the fact that he decided he was going to give up being Peter Parker.
right.
And he was going to focus on being Spider-Man because being Peter Parker was too hard.
So,
So
there's
that's what the movie's about.
room to grow
There's room
on
to
that
grow.
too.
Yes.
And you've been, as a producer, I want to talk about producers because the PGA, they hand out the PGA mark because producers were, those credits were just handed out like candy.
Right.
You know, if to get a movie made, it's
Right.
almost impossible. So, okay, we'll make you an executive producer or something
Right.
producer. And they said, no, we want real producers and make them eligible for Oscars and things like that. So they have to prove they're on the set
Right.
and all of these things. And there's
Right.
a group called Producers United now
Right.
too that is striking out about this too because it's drifting back. I went to see a movie the other day and it had 25 producer credits.
Well, sometimes the producers are the financiers, right?
Yeah.
And you need them too.
Right,
Right?
yeah.
So that's fair.
Yeah, but it's still, you're a producer. Just before we started this, you were talking, well, I've been in London, I'm doing this one, then I'm going back in January. And I remember having talked to you on the phone for an interview or something like that. You're calling from the set. I remember particularly on Little Women.
Right.
You were in Massachusetts or
Yeah.
somewhere. So you go out and you're there the
Well,
whole time?
you know, after I got fired from my job at Sony
Yeah.
and became a producer, there was no reason to be a producer if I wasn't going to be a producer, right?
Right.
And the only way to be a producer is to actually produce the movie, which means being there.
Yeah.
Because movies are collections of details that
Right.
people make. And if you're not there helping people make the decisions,
Right.
then you don't have anything to do with the film. You know, when I was an executive and I thought I was, you know, knew everything about how movies were made, and you look at dailies and you call up the director and you're like, da 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 da, and he's like, well, yeah, but that was like 3 weeks ago, right?
Right.
And you're like, oh yeah, dumb.
Yeah. You know, that whole world of studios that you lived in for so long, and you had quite the run, I would say, in this business.
Yes, I started at Sony in 1988.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you were there the first round.
Yeah. And then I left for a little while, and then I came back with John Calley when he came in '96.
Yeah, because you were at Turner Pictures and
Yeah.
Fox.
Fox was my first job as a studio executive. Yeah.
How did
I
you
wasn't
get, how
there
do you
for
get
very
to-
long.
People want to know, how do you get to be a studio executive?
For me, I had a relationship with Scott Rudin, and I think that he was still working for Edgar Sherrick at the time when
Oh, yeah.
we forged a bond over writers that we loved. And we would share, I love Steve Zaley and I love Eric Roth, in
Right.
those days, right?
Yeah.
We were discovering all those people, Nick Kazan, and we bonded over that, and then he became head of the studio, and he called me and asked me if I wanted to come.
Oh, wow.
But I'd been working for the last 6 years for a wonderful man named Tony Garnett.
Right, you started as an assistant or
A secretary.
A secretary.
Yeah, 6 years as a secretary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you learn a lot sitting there?
Yes, of
like
course
watching
you do.
everything going?
You should do your job, shut up, and listen,
Yeah.
and then you do learn something. There's an expectation, I think, that you should be promoted for showing up,
Right.
but I don't really believe in that.
No, you learn the job, you learn the nuts and bolts of what really goes into it.
People, when I ran the studio, people would say, oh, I really need a promotion. I want to be a vice president. No one will call me back if I'm not a vice president. And I said, well, do something a vice president would do, and then you can be one.
That's a simple answer on all of that. I love
Yeah.
that. You also forge relationships in this business.
Yes.
That is what keeps it going for you, I
Well,
think.
that is what it's all about, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And so when you look at your upcoming projects, others, there's connections here all the way down the line.
I mean, Hail Mary that we just finished shooting is the 7th movie I've made with Lord and Miller.
Yeah, which is Phil Lord, Chris Miller. They do animation, but they also did 21 Jump Street.
I did 21 Jump Street with them. I
Yeah.
did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs with them.
Oh, yeah.
The Spider-Verse movies with them, yeah.
So yeah, listen to this list of movies that she had when she was running Sony. It's pretty impressive. Not just the big money makers, James Bond, Spider-Man, all of that. Best Picture nominees for American Hustle, Captain Phillips, Zero Dark 30, Moneyball, The Social Network. It's quite a track record.
I was lucky, but the same thing applied. Just you have to work with great people. They're
Yeah.
the ones who make great movies.
And to let them make
And to let them make the movie that they want to make.
Yeah.
The first and last decision you make is who's going to direct it, because
Right.
after you choose who the director is, you got about 5% influence on the film. So you
That-
better be right.
That's it. It used to be in the old days, so there was one producer, Sam Spiegel, all these people that,
Yeah.
and that was it. They were the king.
Yeah.
And now it's a joint operation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any regrets that you've had? Movies that got away that you wanted to do?
I won't name them because it'll sound like sour grapes. There are a couple of movies that are in my career earlier on. I wanted to make that, like people said no at the studio. That would be sour grapes to say what they were. But there's plenty of things I passed on. I
Yeah.
passed on like The Sixth Sense. What an idiot.
did?
Yes, and a million other good movies.
Wow. Why is that? What you just,
Because I was stupid and didn't see it.
or, I
or
mean, look.
the timing was wrong or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right. Casablanca, when it was being made, they thought it was going to be a big bomb. They didn't even have a finished script.
Yeah, I should have known better though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sixth Sense.
Yeah, and plenty of others that I could think of. I mean, when you run a studio, I went back with John in '97 as head of production, or I don't know what the title was. You make a lot of films,
Yeah.
in 20 years.
Right. Yeah, that's true, to do a whole studio output. And on top of that, as being chairman, you're also overseeing television
Yeah.
and all these other
Yeah.
studio
Yeah.
things.
It was a really, really great job for a really, really long time. And then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't. And then how does it compare now? How do you like doing
Oh,
this
my God.
nomad life as a producer? Where
Oh
you're
my God, I love what I'm doing. I should have gotten fired sooner
Yeah.
You know, I think this is the job I was always meant to do. But I loved running Columbia Pictures for a very long time.
Yeah.
I love the people I worked with. I love the movies that we made.
It's a great studio, you know.
It's a great studio. The Lady with the Torch, come on.
Oh my God, you know, when we lost Fox as a standalone studio and it gets swallowed up by Disney, you know, I was genuinely depressed.
know.
That was the very first lot, I'm from LA, that was the very first lot. My uncle got me on there one day when I was 15. I was just running around, you know, and I will never forget that. And it's one of the great studios, and
sure is.
they let it slip through their fingers.
Yeah.
And so that left just 5.
Yeah, I'm sure pretty soon there'll be even less.
There might be. Do you think in this day
I
and
don't
age?
know. I don't know.
What do you think
I
of the
hope
industry
not.
right now?
I think this year there's a lot of really good movies that got made. Mm-hmm. And I think we should be happy about that. I'm not one of those people that think the sky is falling.
Oh, okay.
I just don't.
Yeah.
As long as there's 3 acts in a story, there will be movies.
Yes. Well, that's comforting, but
I
you know,
believe it.
Sony was the only one that didn't have a streaming service,
Yes.
basically.
Yes, but when I was there, nobody had a streaming services. I mean,
Right.
That was something, because I've been a producer now since 2016 or something.
Is that something you would have wished, if it was available then, you would have wanted
I am committed to making movies. That's what I know.
for the big screen?
Yeah.
Let's-
I'm working with Netflix on a couple of movies that I'm really excited about, and they're great, and you know, they're wonderful.
You're working on with Greta Gerwig
With Greta
again.
Gerwig on Narnia.
Yeah.
And then I just made a movie with Noah Baumbach called Jay Kelly that we made for Netflix also.
Right.
It's a great movie starring George Clooney and Adam Sandler.
Wow. And that's done?
It's done.
Wow. So
That comes out next year.
that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
And how's Narnia? Has she been shooting that already?
No, we start shooting in July.
I didn't think so. Yeah, because I talked to her. She got on a big award or something, and she was
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
it. But that's a new take on Narnia, or
A very new take on Narnia. It's all about rock and roll.
wow. Okay. How about Greta Gerwig?
How about Greta Gerwig?
I mean, look at her as a
I've
force.
never seen anything like it. I remember the first day I met her, she barged into my office and said, Little Women has been done wrong, and I know how to do it right. And it's all about money and women. And she hadn't even made Lady Bird yet. And she said, I'm going to write and direct that for you.
Wow.
And I said, all right. Because sometimes you know.
Yeah. That's great, and it got a Best
Sometimes you
Picture nomination.
Yeah, it
She's
was,
amazing. The first 3 movies she directs, she gets Best Picture nomination.
Yeah, there's nobody like Greta.
Is it better for women now behind the camera, or you know, you've been dealing with it a long time?
I think it is. But I mean, I've always worked with a lot of women directors.
Yeah.
From Penny and Nancy and Nora.
League of Their
and-
Own, and of course Nora Ephron. Oh my God, yeah.
I know.
They're rare talents.
I miss them all.
Yeah, but I'm hoping it's getting better. It's not better. You know, we just had a recent controversy. I was talking to Rachel Morrison, the great cinematographer who just directed her first film, and I asked her about this Camarage controversy where the head of the festival said basically women, you know, will do mediocre movies and we can't.
Oh my God!
Yeah, oh
didn't even hear
yeah,
that.
you know, and that's why he
Disgusting.
wasn't honoring
Yeah.
female cinematographers. And I asked her about it, and she said, we're 4% in a very
know.
closed society.
I know, but if you see the movies, you know, I love that movie Bottoms. I love
Oh, yeah.
My Old Ass. I think there's so many good female directors that are coming up.
You're right. My Old Ass was terrific. I
love
saw
that
that.
movie.
Yeah, these little films, just to get out in the world, it's difficult for them.
I don't know how any of those movies get made, but I'm so glad they do.
I not only don't know how movies get made, I don't know how they find marketing to get in a theater and stay in the theater more than a week.
Because they're good.
Yeah,
I still believe if something is good, it will happen and people will come see it.
yeah.
I do.
And I think you're right on that.
I do. I
mean,
believe it forever.
Yeah. You well deserved the Milestone Award at the Producers Guild. That was a
Oh,
very
Lord.
big thing in 2010.
Oh my God, that
Way
was so
back,
long
you got
ago.
these huge awards and everything, and just I didn't even list all the movies. Oh, I didn't list. This isn't even your only movie this year. Challengers, Venom
Oh yeah, I know.
is
It's
out
so
now,
great, yeah.
doing
Yeah,
great.
it's doing fantastic business.
And I think it's the biggest hit in China, American movie this
Yeah,
year.
isn't that
too.
wonderful?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that was a big franchise that you
Yeah.
had that you shepherded too.
Yeah.
Wow. The industry can live or die on Amy Pascal.
Oh my
right
goodness!
now.
Don't
If
say
you,
things like
you look at
that.
this list, it's impressive. It really is that you keep going, and I love the fact that you're a working producer.
Yeah. Well,
know.
why do it?
Yeah.
I mean, why do it otherwise?
And yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, that's the only reason. Do it. That song from Chorus Line, "What We Did for Love."
Yeah.
That's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
I
Amy
love that.
Pascal, thank you for joining
Thank
us on
you.
Behind the Lens.
Thank you so much.